Okay guys, welcome to another episode of Rotten Reviews. On this episode I'm going to take a look at The Day the Earth Stood Still from 2008. It has a 21% on the tomato meter and a 27% on the audience score. Definitely rotten. I agree completely that it's rotten. It is a remake of the 1951 film of the same name. It barely resembles the original 1951 film in either tone or in plot. Loosely on plot, it has definitely turned something that was a sci-fi classic of the 50s into a rotten, more modern production. Thoroughly rotten, and I'm going to try to make the case. The largest aspect of this that is rotten, I feel, without comparing it to the original, is just simply on the actual story logic. That story logic fails right from the beginning. Just to quickly get you up to speed, at the beginning of this film, the government, through some kind of satellite observation or deep space observation technology, discovers that what appears to be a comet or asteroid or some unknown object is speeding for a collision course with the Earth. They anticipate this to crash into the Earth with the resulting, obviously, catastrophic devastation. The government's response is to round up the world's top scientists of all disciplines, load them into military helicopters, and then fly those military helicopters right beside the actual projected impact zone of this mysterious space object. The logic alone in that makes no sense. They do not anticipate that this is an alien craft coming to land in New York City, which is what it turns out to be. They anticipated that this was a doomsday, high-speed space object that was coming to bring a doomsday crash to the eastern seaboard of the U.S. So apparently the government thought that they needed to round up the scientists to have them wiped out in the blast. It makes absolutely no sense. There are a lot of other logic errors in the fuller story itself, but right off the bat that told me when I saw this on its DVD release back in the day that this was not going to be good. So let's move into the actual reviews. It is still relevant today. We have a review from July 24th of 2019. 4 stars. The actors played their roles well. The story plot might not be great, but kept me wondering for the next event. Besides, Keanu was very convincing as an alien. Well, I'll disagree with that right off the bat, and so will most people. Keanu Reeves is not convincing in this. In fact, he plays almost his chosen one persona, a very stoic chosen one persona from his Matrix roles. It doesn't quite work in this. It's not relatable. There's no reason for him to do that. Again, that this reviewer says that it was, such a highlight to the film. I say it's the biggest detractor from the film. The reviewer also said he gave it 5 stars. I would put this at one star, peaking out at 1 star, no higher than 1. The production value wasn't bad. The CGI wasn't good or bad. It was passable. Just the script writers chose to kind of waste a lot of the action. The action didn't really move anything forward for me. So I thought the production value was there, but it was mishandled. Let's move on. Half a star. I'd rate it all 5 stars if it came with a parody tag for the sheer amount of cliches that make up the majority of dialogue and action. CGI generic at best, total dross, makes a good $150 million profit on half that budget, and I still wonder what they spent $80 million on. I'll agree with that. The CGI was there, but it certainly doesn't look like $80 million worth of CGI. I don't know. That's a mystery, isn't it? 5 stars. This may not be the best movie ever. It's really good. Absolutely must watch. No, if you absolutely need to watch a title of this name, watch the 1951 classic. I heard that if you order this as a package, the Blu-ray of this 2008 film actually comes with a free copy of the 1951 original. If that's true, then maybe buy this to see the original. 1.5 stars. Decent movie until the last 30 minutes. Then it's like the writers and director couldn't think of what to do next, so they just said, oh well, aliens, give up. So much potential wasted, not one human will think there's a message here. Yeah, I'll agree with that. It's what I meant by several errors in logic further in the film. You know, you build up to the point where the aliens decide that they need to wipe out humans because humans are just no good for the environment and we're just no good in general. Okay, but then you resolve this in the plot with the alien played by Keanu Reeves. He just finds pity on the Earth woman played by Jennifer Connelly and her largely distraught son, and he just decides to call it all off. And instead of wiping us all out, just take away, I guess, our ability to have electricity. It's completely bizarre. The aliens just gave up. I don't know why they bothered to come to Earth in the first place, spend all this effort and time, and then they just decide to throw up their hands and, oh, well, we're not going to wipe you out. We'll just take away your electricity. I'm not sure how that works. In the original movie, uh, the aliens turned off the power worldwide for a few minutes just to show that they had the power to get the world's attention. It was very effective even in the 1950s. It would have been very effective today to do that. Certainly, it would have gotten everybody's attention. But no, they had to actually twist that and turn it on its head and make that the punishment that the aliens gave humanity at the end. Again, the message about why humans were so bad in the first place, why the aliens deemed us to be so bad. I guess it's kind of, it had, the message I got from the film is that it had to do with that we didn't have respect for the environment largely. Not so much that we were going to, colonize space and weaponize space, but just that we were up to no good because we mistreated our environment. So the aliens were going to do a Noah's Ark type thing and take samples of all our different biological life forms on Earth, spirit them away on their ships, and then wipe us out. So some really strange logic on the behalf of aliens, or, even if it were a comic book villain, it would be some very strange logic, dubious, it'd be hard to explain. But anyway, let's move on. 4 stars. Great example of how ignorant humans can be, but with a few, we have hope for some type of change, good enough storyline. So they're saying they liked that idea that, because a few humans started shedding tears at the fact that they were going to be wiped out, then, we don't deserve to be wiped out because we cried a lot. So just take away our technology. Very strange. 1 star. The Day the Earth Stood Still is a remake with potential. However, its execution of its story leaves much to be desired. Yeah. 1 star. Dire and dull remake with nothing to recommend it. Yeah, I'll say it's dire and dull. The alien, the alien that comes to the Earth, played by a very, very stoic Keanu Reeves. He's shown to have superpowers, quite unlike the original film where he was just a very intelligent human being, or a humanoid. He is shown to have superpowers of different varieties. He can fling cars around by just tapping on them. He can also mind control people. He can, use electricity as a weapon to kill people. It's very strange. It's not explained exactly what kind of alien being he is, because it's shown early on in the movie that he's simply inhabiting a engineered clone body so that he can operate in our environment. Yet he has all these superpowers. It doesn't have a point to it exactly. It's dull because it doesn't even do it in a way that makes you want to learn more about the aliens or present it in a mysterious way. It's all just shown up to you out front, and the U.S. government is considered the bad guy here in this film. They take stupid and illogical and belligerent actions just for the sake of being bad guys. It's very comic book-esque type government agent stuff. Very bad in this movie and very dull. 2 stars. Strange version, hard to watch after the original. Yeah. 2.5 stars. Okay, good special effects and good message, but not a good movie. 3 stars. Actually, I sort of liked the film. Klaatu, the alien, behaved exactly as an alien is to be expected. I guess if he's supposed to act like Neo from The Matrix, but with even less facial movement. American government forces, as always, try to solve the problem by blasting it with high explosives. The Hillary Clinton-esque Regina was very convincing. Her deferences to the president sounded particularly funny when watched in 2018. Maybe that after digging garden earth parched by the worst drought in, well, I don't know what they're going into here, but they're saying that they actually found the bad guy government agent lady believable or thrilling. I found it kind of ridiculous and illogical. She was played by Kathy Bates, who just basically played a female villain government agent that had the power of the president behind her, and she would just start a paranoid war with the aliens that she knows nothing about. It was completely illogical, and it was like a comic book villain. It didn't say anything, and I don't get the Hillary Clinton reference because there was certainly no political message behind it. I guess if you consider Hillary Clinton to be evil, then you could say Kathy Bates was her, but that's a big stretch. Nothing in this movie's political in any way. It just comes across as a comic book villain. 3 stars. Better effects, more fleshed story. The end is very biblical. Not at all credible, though. Well, I'll agree it had some biblical imagery. A lot of the effects were blurry and brilliant, and I mean brilliant as far as like dim and brilliant, not brilliant in the smart way. They come across to me in today's world, 2019, as being very blurry CGI that doesn't age well. But a lot of this CGI is done in a flashy way that has a lot of biblical, like classical biblical archetype imagery in it. It can't be by accident. The movie was trying to give you that impression. It largely failed, though. It just looked like a blurry mess to me in a lot of ways. But apparently it was a very expensive blurry mess at the time. 1 star. The acting is terrible, the dialogue is awful, and don't even get me started on the special effects. Yeah, I'll agree. The dialogue I don't remember. It was very bland and dull. The acting, again, Keanu Reeves is just completely stoic. He could have phoned this in. He was completely sober. I know that, but he was boring and bland, and even his Neo in the Matrix was better characterized than this. He tried a lot harder. Now the special effects again they're blurry. They took the original like robot guardian character from the 1951 film and they used him in exactly the same way, except they made him really huge. He was more polished and he had lasers he could shoot from his eyes and knock out multiple targets at once. He had a battle with different types of conventional forces, drone forces. He had a battle with American tanks of some sort. It was passable but boring and pointless, and it wasn't anything thrilling. It was just to show you that the aliens are the good guys and they're the passive guys, and the U.S. military are the bad guys and the aggressors. That was really the whole point to it, I guess, but it was very dull. 1/2 star. Hollow shadow of the original, wooden acting, screechy annoying child, chest thumping 2D government meanies, drear, wet, and miserable. Ugh, why take the thoughtful and brilliant original movie and churn it into this mindless popcorn trash? Why? Yeah, I'll largely agree. 2D bad guy villains from the government. Yeah, Jaden Smith is the kid. He's still getting over the loss of his dad who died in Iraq or Afghanistan or something like that. Um, his single mom is the protagonist, the government scientist protagonist in the film. He's very annoying. Jaden Smith is very annoying in all his films. People have suggested that his dad needs to get him into a university and do something other than acting. I don't know if the Smith family will ever get that message. But in any case, yeah, a lot of people really didn't like Jaden Smith and his performance in this. 3.5 stars. The lesson is man has outstayed his welcome on Earth, as it seems inevitable that man will cause the destruction of the planet, even if man can offer complex beauty or concepts as love and alike. Keanu Reeves makes the best of his role as a seemingly emotionless evaluator and judge, but he's clearly not in his element. The effects look great. Okay, this person is making a lot of excuses for Keanu Reeves and for this film. I disagree. There's nothing worth watching here. You'll forget everything that happens within 2 minutes of getting to the end credits. It's that bland and boring. Again, 1 star. Let's continue on. 2 stars. Unnecessary remake of the 1951 classic. Well, it's so old and it's so iconic in the 1950s sci-fi way. Everybody my age saw it when they were kids, 20, 25 years after it was made. But when a remake was inevitable, it wasn't like nobody expected a remake to ever happen. But this remake doesn't do it any justice. It just makes it seem stupid. I guess the only positive thing would be that this remake brings some attention back to the original from the 50s. So that's the only positive I can see there. 0.5 star. I cannot help but think Will Smith's influence on the production of this ill-conceived remake most certainly tarnished the careers of all concerned. Jennifer Connelly, who could be Mimi Farina's lost twin, deserves better for Mimi's sake. Well, I wasn't sure that Will Smith had an influence, but his son's in this, so well, yeah, that would make sense. 3 stars. I think that the movie is pretty good, but the ending absolutely destroys the movie. The ending just doesn't make sense. He just accepts it so quickly and then he saves the earth so easily. Again, the ending is bad. It's like the writers couldn't figure out how to wrap this up in a way that was satisfying, so they just decided that the aliens changed their mind and will let humans live after all. But we will punish them. It wasn't for nothing. We're going to take away your electricity permanently somehow, as though that's going to keep us from ruining the environment. Logically, it doesn't make a lot of sense because if you took away our electronic technology, our access to electricity, I would say we would just go back to the pre-industrial age. And if you know anything about the pre-industrial age, it involved a lot of smokestacks and a lot of dirty air and a lot of open sewers and etc. It certainly wouldn't be good for the environment. If anything, the aliens should have chose to give us more technology that we could actually clean up the environment and make a profit at the same time. But nope, they decide if they put us back to the dirty old coal burning days that that'll be good for the plants and animals. I disagree completely. So the writers failed on every level. 3 stars. I know this movie is hated among critics, but I won't be ashamed to say that I actually really like it. It's filled with cliches we've seen too many times, but I can't help but defend it and say that these cliches have had life breathed into them with this new cast and modern retelling. I have yet to see the original 1951 classic, but it's on my list. So without further ado, here is The Day the Earth Stood Still. Okay, so they're saying that this movie was great and they haven't seen the original. I think they have some really low standards, and if you just judge this on the plot logic fail all the way from beginning to end, it's a complete fail. This would be a failure even as a short story. Like, let's say you had perfect characterization. Let's say you had an awesome Academy Award winning performance for everybody involved in this film. Just the ridiculous plot logic fail in it alone is enough to pan it. It just is. 0.5 star. For the love of all that is good and decent in this world, don't see this movie. 1 star. This movie has almost nothing to do with the original except the name. The earth did not stand still, and the most famous 3 words in sci-fi history were never said. The original was uplifting positive, while this version was dark and depressing. I have stopped. I don't want to go on a rant. Please watch original and burn this one. Yeah, I'll largely agree. Yeah, I believe the reviewer is correct. The 3 famous words in the original movie are never uttered in this one. I think he is correct on that. That was kind of a big fail. I mean, it's almost like the writers didn't even watch the original, didn't know anything about it. Again, a complete writing fail. 5 stars. As a remake, I think they did an excellent job. The scenes and dynamics were realistic to me and thought it was very entertaining. The special effects were pretty amazing. Wow, this is written in 2017. That's a complete fail of a review. The CGI alone looks funny, fuzzy, and bad by today's standards, so I disagree right off the bat. 2 stars. I saw this 2008 version several years ago, and I just watched the original 1951 version. This remake turns a sci-fi classic into some kind of an enviro-nut stinkfest. There is a bunch of destruction and special effects, but they are not very interesting. Yeah, even the action scenes where the military is, they send drones against the gigantic robot. It's completely boring. I mean, yeah, it's got CGI and lasers and drones blowing up, but like it doesn't do anything. It doesn't have any emotional impact on the story. In fact, it doesn't even move the story along any. It's just pointless. 2 stars. It may have nice visual effects, but without the heart and message that made the 1951 version a classic, The Day the Earth Stood Still, it's just another Hollywood rehash that uses style over substance. Keanu Reeves looks bored in his role as Klaatu, and Jaden Smith's character is so annoying that he makes us wish he was dead. Why the father had to die, his role would have been more interesting than the son if the film focused more on her humanity rather than the action. Yeah, for some reason they chose that, they needed a single mother and her annoying son to be the main, protagonist duo in this. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, there was a little kid used as a main character in the first one, but he didn't have a single mother, I don't believe. Or if he did, it wasn't portrayed that way because it was in a family setting. He had more than one family member in his household. This is just like a single mother with a messed up son. The dad is just gone or absent, dead. And it actually starts off with the kid. It spends a lot of wasted footage, in my opinion, showing the kid playing World of Warcraft on a laptop. I'm not sure what that's supposed to show, other than they're trying to promote World of Warcraft in this film. It's a shameless plug for World of Warcraft. It doesn't characterize the kid in any way. It's a complete, like, just a commercial plug for Warcraft. That was very strange to see in this movie, too. 4 stars. Beastly movie, interesting story, and different in a lot of ways. Lots of amazing and memorable scenes. Another perfect role for Keanu's limited acting ability. LOL. I.e., The Matrix and John Wick. Lots of cool sci-fi-ish ideas about 3 viewings. Well, if you viewed this 3 times, I could see viewing it 3 times to find out why this was made, if you could find out what the secret was to how to get a bad movie made like this. Otherwise, this is a 1-star movie. 4 stars. I really like this film. Well, good for you. 4 stars. I really liked this for the message. We are destroying our planet. It's true. Also a great cast. A little slow, but I like their imagining of how why an advanced civilization would attack. Well, they don't actually attack us. They spend a lot of time sitting around observing us. And then when they finally decide to get rid of us, they want to do it by just dissolving us with, like a nanotechnology of, a big black cloud of nanobots, so to speak. It's kind of anticlimactic and silly, and it relies upon really cheap and blurry CGI. The message that we're destroying our planet, well, the aliens certainly don't want to fix that. They just want to wipe it all out and destroy everything else that we haven't destroyed. The logic alone in this just totally fails. 2.5 stars. Get to watch it properly on Netflix through my 60-inch smart TV and studio wired headphones. To see and listen this transforming giant robot like a swarm of ferocious bees sweep chaos in the city, there's just not enough trash transforming destruction to keep destruction-loving fans glued to the screen, fans who tend to trash their possessions or house items out of anger. He's saying that, it's a fail on if you watch this on a giant screen with great sound system because you're expecting, an over-the-top show of how the aliens destroy our civilization, that it fails, and I agree. I kind of wonder why that's all you wanted to get out of it, but yeah, it fails in that way too. The CGI is bad. It's not dramatic or climactic. It's just boring. 3 stars. If you are an unashamed movie geek like me and can recite Klaatu Barada Nikto and the numbers from Lost, the data uplink code, from The Running Man, without Googling them, then you might like this film. Considering how bad the original film was, this is somewhat of a triumph. There is a rather large whiff of Neo about Keanu's uninspired performance, and Jennifer O'Connelly is wooden as an extra from a Hulk movie, but I have watched far worse. So they're saying this movie's okay because Keanu and Connolly have been in worse movies. No, I don't think so. And they're saying that, if you're a sci-fi geek of some sort, that, this is going to be fantastic. No, it's not. You're going to be falling asleep just like everybody else. 1 star. One of the worst films I've ever seen. Keanu Reeves' acting was so wooden. I looked for termites. An absolutely ridiculous plot. Yeah, he's like Neo, but with absolutely no facial movement. 2 stars, disappointed. The original is superb, but this just feels dull and reliant on special effects. Yeah, and reliant on special effects that draw things out for a long period at the beginning. There's a lot of footage, wasted footage in my opinion, at the beginning of this film, just showing this gigantic blurry alien sphere coming to Central Park, New York, and people approaching it all slow, like it's supposed to be dramatic and tension filled. It's not. It's boring. It's anticlimactic. It's just drawn out snooze fest, and you'll fall asleep before you even get to the Keanu Reeves part. Um, there's nothing, there's no rising tension in this to keep you awake. 2.5 stars. The special effects and acting serve the plot very well and offer some sense of immediacy and believability. Unfortunately, the film's plot lacked the endurance or the meat and potatoes and just stalled out in the end. As a consolation, we do get a heavy dose of the beautiful Jennifer Connelly, who undeniably has become even more beautiful with time. I'll disagree, especially on the Jennifer Connelly part. She's not dressed scantily. She's not made sexy. She's just a single parent that doesn't know what's going on. Yeah, she's not ugly, but if you think you're going to get some kind of thrill out of watching her in that way, you're watching the wrong movie, clearly. 3 stars. Other than it being a different story, I did like the effects. I disagree. Not even the effects were anything worth mentioning, not even in 2008. 1.5 stars. This is not really a remake of the 1951 movie of the same name. To say that it is loosely based on it seems like a more accurate description. Yeah, I'll agree. Keanu Reeves is, as usual, emotionless and strangely enough has been given some impressive supernatural powers, not at all unlike those he wields in the Matrix trilogy. Yeah, I'll agree. It's like Neo's powers. Very much so. Jaden Smith has his trademark clueless look at all times. John Cleese makes an excellent yet brief appearance. Yeah, John Cleese appears to show up as the scientist figure who is also in the original film, but it doesn't work because it tries to remake the original scientist figure in the first one, who's got the blackboard full of equations, and the alien in the original movie, sneaks into the scientist's study, and he fixes the equation on the blackboard for him. And this is a plot point in the movie. This one tries to do the same thing, but it's not even a good recreation of it. It's pointless. It doesn't move the plot forward at all. It's just thrown in there as an homage to the first one, but it has nothing. It's not relevant to anything else that happens in the movie, so it's pointless and dumb. 1/2 star. This is a B movie and not an enjoyable one, with a few A-list actors added in, nothing more, nothing less. Rarely do I find myself contemptuous of a movie, but in this case it seems to match the contempt the director feels for his audience. Our intelligence is insulted at every opportunity with cardboard cutout characters, lame dialogue, limp acting, and oh yes, people making stupid decisions. Don't you hate it when you're watching a movie and you say to yourself, that's silly, nobody would act like that? Yeah, it is all of that. The bad guys in the government have no logic. The good guys in the government have no logic. The alien has no logic. It's all just a series of stupid decisions that add up to nothing. 1/2 star. A great story dumbed down for today's audiences. Keanu Reeves should have played Gort. He was so robotic. Jennifer Connelly is gorgeous, though. Yeah, you're right. Gort and Keanu Reeves, they shared the same expression. You're right on that. 2 stars. The Day the Earth Stood Still is a mysterious and even chilling sci-fi mystery film for the first act. Unfortunately, the film descends into a story that is not only overly familiar and formulaic, but also quite boring. The screenplay hits every plot point expected from films of this type, leaving a film that feels unnecessary, especially considering it's a remake of a much campier film. It's a shame that the film is so narrative flawed, because director Scott Derrickson certainly has an eye for visuals. I'll disagree. The director didn't set anything up visually fascinating either. There's nothing in this that makes it non-boring. It's a fail just on, the way the scenes are put together. Again, you would fall asleep if you were just even moderately, tired from work. You wouldn't make it through this movie. Half a star, shite of the highest order. 1 star, 2008's The Day the Earth Stood Still is a package, one that's a completely nonsensical mess of mediocre visual effects slapped over a contrived and forced message, all wrapped up in overt messiah metaphors. You know, I'll agree with that. It is. When you look back on this, that's exactly what it is. Half a star, a worthless film that is a complete waste of time. Keanu Reeves has been one of my favorites, but it's a shame to see him work in a film like this. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I'll agree, but you know, he performs the same in a lot of the movies that he's in. It works in other movies, that type of portrayal. It doesn't work here. 3 stars. In 1928, a solitary mountaineer. Okay, this is just a synopsis. I'm not going to read a synopsis of this. It's not interesting enough to do so. 2 stars. This one started out okay and had potential, but lost its way as it went along. Jaden Smith was quite annoying in it. Keanu Reeves was decent enough, but it's his type of role. Wish they had a stronger script because it could have been good. Skip it. Yeah. 1.5 stars. At least Keanu Reeves played a role perfect for him. Emotionless alien. 1.5 stars. Just about watchable. 1.5 stars. This movie was so shit. I wanted to kill the shit out of Jaden Smith for being a piss off. Nice robot, but that's it. The end was shit too, with no explanation. Overall, this movie was shit. 3 stars. Having never seen the original, I can't tell you if it's better or worse. First off, I thought the plot was intelligent and different to, okay, I'm going to stop right there. The plot wasn't intelligent. Again, let me recap this for you. The government decided to move all of its best scientists into the impact area of a gigantic, what would be a gigantic asteroid impact. That's the start of this movie. That you call that logic? Excuse me, but no. 1.5 stars. This was awful. Everything about it. The script sucked. The effects were meh. Everybody was boring in it. Prefer the original. 2.5 stars. Quite a good remake with nice effects and a very suitable role for Keanu Reeves. Yeah, it was suitable because he didn't have to move his face at all. It was very easy work for him, I'm sure. The big disappointment, however, is that they seem to totally miss the point, which was so well made by the original movie. Yeah, they do miss the point of the original, but that's not the real crime here. The crime here is that the movie was boring. That's the real crime. 3.5 stars. Was 10 when I first saw this, is now on TMC 85% on the Richter scale. If you saw this and it was a 10, I'm assuming, 1 out of 10 scale, 1 to 10 scale, you thought it was a 10. You had drank a 6-pack before you watched it because, no. 1 star. In the current age of limited thought and writer strikes, it was inevitable production companies would eventually start trolling the archives, hoping to rehash a classic and make it a hit once more. But it didn't work out, did it? 1.5 star. Yeah, the effects are okay, but I'm afraid this movie wasn't good enough to be remade. It was a product of its time, and it's a bad idea to remake a movie that worked for that time. I'll agree with that. It very was much a product of its time. It was the Cold War was coming into effect. Everything was seen in that regard as far as like aliens coming to Earth. We had the Cold War suspicion about them being bad guys too. It worked. This movie worked perfectly in its day. Yeah, I don't think even if you remade this, with all the best intentions and budget and all the best performances, yeah, it probably wouldn't work today. You could probably never get beyond 2.5 stars. I give this 1 star for this effort. I think, yeah, you're not going to get more than 2.5 stars in today's world out of this type of story. But this again, 27% audience score. I think it deserves it. 21% tomato meter. I could see this just staying at this score for all eternity. This movie is already 11 years old. It's been largely forgotten. If you want to see Keanu Reeves, go watch John Wick. He's great for that. If you want to see Jennifer Connelly, House of Sand and Fog is really appreciated to this day, and that's Jennifer Connelly. If you want to see Jaden Smith, maybe you could watch something along the lines of After Earth, just so that you know he hasn't gotten better since then, and then just send a quick email to his dad that he doesn't need to stay in Hollywood. He needs to find a better career to get into. So anyway, I'll leave it at that until the next episode of Rotten Reviews.